You know what's absolutely terrifying? The average American in their 60s, people who are literally supposed to be retiring, has less than $200,000 in their 401k. That's not a typo. $200,000. That's like showing up to a gunfight with a pool noodle. And here's the kicker. That number is actually going down as people get older because they're panic withdrawing just to survive. It's like watching someone try to bail out the Titanic with a sippy cup. Hi, I'm Matt, and on this channel, I break down personal finance, retirement saving strategies, and wealth building tactics so you can actually retire with dignity instead of working at Home Depot until you're 83. And look, if that sounds dramatic, just wait until you see the numbers I'm about to show you. If you're someone who's serious about financial independence and you don't want to end up eating cat food in your golden years, hit that subscribe button. All right, so here's what we're doing today. I'm going to walk you through exactly how much you should have saved in your 401k by age. We're talking 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way through your 70s. I'll show you the average American's 401k balance at each decade, which honestly is kind of depressing. And then I'll tell you what a grade A nest egg actually looks like if you want to retire like you mean it. Plus, I've got some real stories about people who crushed it, people who failed spectacularly, and one guy named Brad who has a bearded dragon and makes some questionable financial decisions. But here's the most important part. If you're behind right now, and statistically most of you watching probably are, I'm going to give you the exact catch-up strategies that can still get you to millionaire status even if you're starting late. So stick around because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where you stand and what you need to do about it. Ages 20 to 29. Start now or lose millions. Let's start with your 20s because this is where the magic happens, or where it should happen, except most people in their 20s are too busy buying $7 oat milk lattes and convincing themselves that their Hinge premium subscription is an investment in their future. According to recent data, the average American in their 20s has about $10,500 in their 401k and is contributing around 7% of their income. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this, that's pathetic. 7% is not going to cut it. That's like trying to fill a swimming pool with an eyedropper. Here's what you need to understand about your 20s. This is the only time in your entire life when you have compound interest working at full throttle. You know what compound interest is? It's basically a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger and faster and faster. But here's the catch. You need time for that snowball to get massive. And time is the one thing you can never get back. Let me introduce you to Brad. Brad is 28 years old, works in tech, makes about $65,000 a year, and lives in Austin where he pays $1,800 a month for a studio apartment with exposed brick. Brad also has a bearded dragon named Crypto because he bought $3,000 worth of Dogecoin in 2021 and lost most of it. Brad contributes 3% to his 401k because, in his words, I'll start saving seriously when I turn 30. But here's what Brad doesn't know yet. If Brad started investing just $500 a month right now at age 28 with a 10% average annual return, he'd have $3.4 million by age 65. But if Brad waits until he's 35 to start, that same $500 a month only grows to $1.9 million. He literally loses $1.5 million by waiting 7 years. And you want to know the most frustrating part? Most people in their 20s have access to an employer match on their 401k, which is literally free money, and they're not even taking advantage of it. If your company matches 50% of the first 6% you contribute, and you're not putting in that 6%, you're essentially walking past a pile of cash on the sidewalk every single day. So here's your grade A target for your 20s. By age 30, you should have at least $50,000 in your 401k. If you start at age 23, contribute $400 a month, and get that 10% average return, you'll hit $50,000 by age 30. $400 a month. That's 2 dinners out with drinks. The bottom line for your 20s, start now. Not next year, not when you feel more stable, right now, because every month you wait costs you thousands in future retirement savings. Ages 30 to 39, the family fail phase. All right, let's talk about your 30s, and this is where things get complicated. The average American in their 30s has about $38,500 in their 401k and is contributing 8%, which is better than the 20-somethings, but still nowhere near enough. And I know exactly why this happens. Your 30s are when life starts getting expensive. You're getting married, buying a house, having kids, and suddenly your extra money has evaporated. Wait, let me show you something that'll blow your mind. I want you to meet Marcus. Marcus is 40 years old, lives in suburban Ohio, works as a high school teacher making $58,000 a year, and he has 2 kids in elementary school. Marcus is a good guy. He coaches Little League, he remembers everyone's birthday, and he genuinely wants to do right by his family. But Marcus is broke. Not like I can't pay my bills broke, but like I will be working until I'm 74 broke. Here's Marcus's story. He started contributing to his 401k at age 32 after he got married. Before that, he had student loans, then there was the wedding, then the house down payment, so he started late. When he did start, he only put in 5% of his salary because he had a mortgage and daycare costs, and his wife wanted something safe for the kids, which apparently was a $35,000 SUV on a 72-month loan. Fast forward to today, Marcus is 40 years old and has $47,000 in his 401k. At his current contribution rate, Marcus will have about $380,000 by age 65. And with inflation, that's going to feel like about $200,000 in today's money. He's on track to retire at 74, not 65. And the worst part? Marcus drives a BMW because image matters in his profession. Brother, you know what really matters? Not working until you die. But here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to tell you about someone else in a minute who's the same age as Marcus, lives in the same city, makes almost the same income, but has 4 times as much in her 401k. But we'll get to her in a second. If you're 35 years old and you've been investing consistently since your mid-20s, you should have around $130,000 to $150,000 in your 401k. And if you're looking at your account thinking, I don't have anywhere near that, don't panic yet. You can still fix this, but you need to get serious fast. Here's what you need to do if you're in your 30s and behind. First, prioritize retirement savings over lifestyle inflation. I don't care if your friends just bought a boat. Second, take advantage of every dollar of employer match. Third, if you still have high interest debt, pay it off before investing aggressively. And fourth, automate everything. Set up automatic contributions from your paycheck, because if you're relying on willpower to save money, you're going to fail. Marcus wishes he could go back and be Brad, because Brad still has time. Marcus has to work a lot harder now to catch up.
Ages 40 to 49, the lifestyle creep showdown. Now, we're getting into your 40s, and this is where I see the biggest split between people who are going to retire comfortably and people who are going to be working until they drop. The average American in their 40s has about $93,500 in their 401k and is contributing 8%. Better than their 30s, sure, but still not enough. Here's the thing about your 40s. This is typically when you're making the most money you've ever made. You've got 15, 20 years of career experience, you've gotten promotions, and your salary is higher than it's ever been. But you know what else is higher? Your expenses. Because now you've got a bigger house, nicer cars, kids and expensive activities, vacations to Turks and Caicos, and a belief that you deserve nice things because you've been working hard for 2 decades. That's called lifestyle creep, and it's the silent killer of retirement dreams. Remember Marcus? Let me tell you about Keisha. Keisha is also 40 years old. She's a nurse in the same Ohio city where Marcus lives, and she makes $62,000 a year, just $4,000 more than Marcus. Keisha is single, no kids, but she's not living some luxurious life. Keisha drives a 2015 Honda Civic that she paid off 5 years ago. She lives in a modest apartment. She doesn't have a fancy wardrobe. And her 401k balance? $198,000. How is that possible when Marcus only has $47,000? Here's the secret. Keisha started investing at age 23. She contributed 18% of her income from day one. Not 5%, not 8%, but 18%. She maxed out her employer match, put money into a Roth 401k on top of her traditional 401k, and when she picked up overtime shifts or side gigs, she invested that money instead of upgrading her lifestyle. Keisha is on track to retire at age 55 with $1.8 million in her 401k. Marcus is on track to retire at 74 with $380,000. They make essentially the same income. The difference? Keisha made retirement savings a priority, and Marcus made looking successful a priority. So what should you have in your 401k by your 40s? If you're 45 years old and you've been investing consistently since your mid-20s, you should have somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000. And I know that sounds like a lot, but remember, with compound interest, most of your retirement savings growth happens in the last 10 to 15 years before retirement. But what if you're 45 and you only have $50,000 or $20,000? You can still make this work, but you need to get aggressive. I'm talking about increasing your contribution rate to 20% or more, cutting unnecessary expenses, maybe picking up a side hustle, and potentially downsizing your lifestyle to free up more money for retirement savings. The average salary for someone in their 40s is about $59,000. If you started investing 15% of that, about $740 a month, starting right now at age 40, you could still retire with close to $1 million by age 65. Here's what I need you to understand. Your 40s are your last chance to course correct without absolutely destroying your lifestyle. In your 50s, the math gets harder. In your 60s, you're in crisis mode. But in your 40s, you still have time and compound interest working for you. So the question is, are you going to be Marcus, driving a leased BMW into poverty? Or are you going to be Keisha, driving a paid-off Honda into financial freedom? Okay, if you're still watching this video right now, you're already ahead of 90% of Americans. Most people would rather scroll TikTok than spend 10 minutes learning how to retire with dignity. The fact that you're still here tells me you're serious about your financial future, and you're about to learn catch-up strategies that could change everything. So don't click away now. Ages 50 to 59. Panic mode activated. Let's talk about your 50s. This is where things get real. The average American in their 50s has about $160,000 in their 401k and is contributing 10%. And honestly, if that's you, you're in trouble. Not end of the world trouble, but you need to make serious changes immediately trouble. But here's the good news. The IRS knows that people in their 50s are often behind on retirement savings, so they created catch-up contributions. Once you turn 50, you can contribute an extra $7,500 per year to your 401k on top of the normal $23,000 limit. That's a total of $30,500 per year. And if you're really behind, you should be maxing that out. Let me tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer is 55 years old now, but her story starts at age 48. At 48, she was going through a divorce, working as a sales manager, making about $68,000 a year, and she had exactly $12,000 in her 401k. $12,000 at age 48. She was looking at her future and realizing she was about to be a broke old lady eating ramen. So she panicked, but it was the good kind of panic. Here's what she did. First, she immediately increased her 401k contribution to 20% of her salary. It hurt. She had to cut back on a lot of things, but she did it. Second, once she turned 50, she started maxing out catch-up contributions. She was putting away nearly $2,000 a month. Third, she downsized her living situation. She'd been living in a 3-bedroom house she couldn't really afford. She sold it, moved into a smaller apartment, and invested the difference. Fourth, she started a side consulting business helping other companies with sales strategies. Every single dollar from that side gig went into her Roth IRA. Fast forward to today. Jennifer is 55 years old and has $127,000 in her 401k. At her current contribution rate and with her side hustle income, Jennifer is projected to have about $650,000 by age 65. Is that millionaire status? No, but it's enough for her to retire comfortably with Social Security. Jennifer went from absolutely screwed to going to be okay in just 7 years. If you're in your 50s, ideally you should have around $1 million to $1.5 million by age 55. But most people don't have that. Most are somewhere between $100,000 and $300,000. If you're behind, here's your game plan. Number 1, cut all unnecessary spending immediately. Number 2, max out your catch-up contributions if you possibly can. Number 3, consider delaying Social Security. If you wait until 70 instead of claiming at 62, your monthly benefit increases by about 76%. Number 4, get a side hustle. Drive for Uber, consult in your field, whatever. Just bring in extra money and invest it. And number 5, don't touch that 401k money. Every dollar you pull out now won't compound into $3 or $4 by retirement. Your 50s are your last real chance to fix this without extraordinary measures. So fix it.
Ages 60 through 69, the final countdown. Legacy or regret. Now we're in your 60s, and this is where the rubber meets the road. The average American in their 60s has about $182,000 in their 401k and is contributing 11%. Not nearly enough. If you're 65 years old and you've been investing consistently since your 20s, you should have somewhere between $2.5 million and $4 million. And if you have that, congratulations, you've won the game. You can retire with dignity, travel, help your grandkids, and never worry about money again. But what if you're 65 and you only have $200,000? You've got tough decisions. You might need to work a few more years. You might need to scale back your lifestyle expectations. You might need to relocate to a lower cost of living area. Here's the thing about retirement. It's not just about the money you have, it's about your withdrawal rate. There's the 4% rule, which says you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement portfolio each year without running out of money. So if you have $500,000, that's $20,000 per year. Add in Social Security, you might be at $35,000 to $40,000 total. Remember Marcus? He's probably going to have about $380,000 by age 65. That's a 4% withdrawal of $15,000 per year, with Social Security maybe $35,000 to $38,000 total. That's why Marcus is going to keep working into his 70s. Meanwhile, Keisha, she's projected to have $1.8 million by age 55. At 4%, that's $72,000 per year before she's even eligible for Social Security. Keisha retires at 55, travels the world, never worries about money. Same city, similar income, completely different outcomes. If you're in your 60s, maximize those last few years of contributions, get strategic about Social Security timing, start thinking about tax diversification with Roth conversions, have a drawdown strategy, and think about legacy planning. The bottom line for your 60s, this is the final sprint. If you've done well up to this point, make sure you don't fumble at the finish line. And if you're behind, work as long as you can, save as much as you can, and be realistic about what your retirement is going to look like. Ages 70 plus, still time? Barely. Let's talk about your 70s and beyond. The average American in their 70s has about $171,000 in their 401k and is contributing 12%, which means a lot of people are still working in their 70s. And honestly, that's heartbreaking because most of these people are working because they have to, not because they want to. Once you hit age 73, you're required to start taking required minimum distributions from your traditional 401k and IRA accounts. The IRS is basically saying you've been deferring taxes for decades, now it's time to pay up. Those RMDs can be substantial and push you into higher tax brackets. But even if you're in your 70s and behind, it's not too late to make changes. You might not build a massive nest egg, but you can still improve your situation. If you're in your 70s with $150,000 in retirement accounts and Social Security as your main income, here's what to do. First, accept reality. Focus on what you can control. Second, maximize your Social Security benefits. Third, consider downsizing aggressively. Move to a lower cost of living area. Fourth, look into part-time work that you actually enjoy. And fifth, connect with resources for seniors. Here's my hope message. It's never too late to make better decisions. Is it harder to build wealth at 70 than at 25? Absolutely. Is it impossible? No. People turn their finances around every single day. You just have to be willing to make changes and stop making excuses. All right, let's bring this home. We've covered every decade from your 20s through your 70s, and you should now have a clear picture of where you stand. Here's the recap. Brad, the 28-year-old with the bearded dragon, needs to stop messing around and start investing now before he loses millions. Marcus, the 40-year-old teacher, is on track to work until 74 because he prioritized looking successful over building wealth. Keisha, the 40-year-old nurse, is retiring at 55 with $1.8 million because she made different choices with the same income. And Jennifer, the 55-year-old, started way behind but got aggressive, and she's going to be okay. So which one are you? And which one do you want to be? Here's what I need you to do right now. Step 1, open your 401k account and look at your current balance. Write it down. Step 2, calculate where you should be based on your age using the benchmarks I gave you. Step 3, look at your current contribution rate and increase it by at least 2% right now. Step 4, if your employer offers a match and you're not maxing it out, fix that immediately. Step 5, make a commitment. Say it out loud. I will not retire broke. I will make retirement savings a priority starting today. I know this stuff isn't sexy, but you know what's really unsexy? Being 75 years old and unable to retire, working until you physically can't work anymore. Remember that old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. Your retirement is that tree, and whether you're 25 or 45 or 65, today is the day you start planting. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this with anyone you know who needs to hear it. All right, that's it for today. Now get out there and start building that nest egg. Your future self is counting on you. I'll see you in the next video.